Hello everybody, Glass Half Dead here. You're about to see an interview between me and Sheldon Steer, or Kill Team Stream, as you may know him better. He's the guy that made the LVO pack for 2021, and the main kind of big things we're talking about are a little bit of kind of game design theory on why secondaries and what should they really be doing for you. Should they be pushing you to do things, or should they be kind of rewards for doing things you were going to do anyway? But mainly, we're going to be talking about why 3CP is better than 2CP, and kind of how he came to think of it that way, and also a little bit more about commanders, because if you haven't noticed, yes, I am attempting to inception you guys into believing that commanders is a thing we should all be playing as a community. We should be a bit more accepting of it. But before all of that, of course, I have to say hello, and if you're a subscriber, double hello. So if you're double hello in the next video, subscribe now. Hi Sheldon. Your Kill Team
Hello.
Stream, I'm Glass Half Dead. We're talking about LVO today, primarily. How's it going? You good?
Yeah, doing all right. Crazy times we're living in currently, I guess, you know?
Well, let's move on quickly before we get into make this a political podcast. You are what's the actual term? The LVO. What do you actually do? What's your job title?
This year I'm the TO,
Okay.
so tournament organizer. Last year I was just a player / volunteer for the streaming stuff.
Oh yeah, of course. I remember seeing you play on the top 8 tables, and then you just failed because didn't you have to play like 3 Eldar in a row?
No, I played one Eldar. It was Dakota.
Yeah.
I got to the top table round 2, lost by I think like 1 point, and then subsequently went up against like my 2 worst matchups, and then dropped down to like 30th after that. So it was like, okay.
Yeah, what can you do? Right, yeah. So, you are the TO for the LVO, which, for those that don't know, is the Las Vegas Open. Of course, the thing we're excited about at the moment is 2021. We've done 2020, been and gone. Who won that? Oh, Michael T. Holy, because he was there. So, yeah. Going into 2021, we have a new pack with all new... it's the same primaries, isn't it? We were playing Hold Kill in the last primaries. Yeah.
The difference is that the max points for the primary have changed. So instead of 12, it's going to be 9.
Interesting. Okay.
Because before, essentially, we were kind of keeping it similar to how Hold had. The thought was you could score max points for 3 turns, and that would be the theoretical max. What we were finding in our testing was what that ended up being is teams that could get like a very early lead in the points could then just like steamroll their opponents by switching it back to 9. It leads to like a little bit better, closer games where someone's not, like a melee team that typically will get their points later on can actually not get steamrolled by a shooting team that can score a lot the first turn, whereas the melee team can't necessarily score a lot on primaries turn 1 all the time.
Okay, well, let's rein it back in for a moment.
Yeah.
What is the LVO? So assume that whoever's watching this is new, and they don't know what LVO is.
Yeah, so Las Vegas Open is a big international convention that's run out of Vegas by the Frontline Gaming Company. They run the BAO, the Bay Area Open, the SCO SoCal Open, and then the Las Vegas Open, as well as they have like a web store. They sell stuff, gaming mats and terrain and all sorts of stuff. They've been running it for quite a few years. I don't know exactly how many years. I think it's almost 10. And it's been primarily like it started off as a big 40K event. So, the big Warhammer 40K, Age of Sigmar, back when it was called Warhammer Fantasy, that sort of stuff. And, they've had a lot of side events. They always have all the different GW games there, as well as they've started doing like Star Wars Legion, and they have like Magic now, and like they have a bunch of different things that you can play at the event, not just Warhammer games. But what we're interested in is the Kill Team, which this is going to become the third year in a row now where they've had Kill Team at the Las Vegas Open. The first year was the 2019, which was actually the very first year I'd ever been to the Las Vegas Open. I went for Kill Team, and Alex, aka Kill Team Academy, was the TO, along with Elliot Miller. They ran it the first year and this year, 2020, and they'll be there with me in 2021, helping out. Elliot's going to be helping run the events, and I think Alex is going to try and help out with some stuff, but I think he's more interested this year in actually playing. I think is the idea. So we'll
he
see
can
how that
join
goes.
in
You know,
the misery that we all have to join in with.
yeah, exactly.
Of losing round one. Yeah.
I think the idea is he's trying to get out of the misery of running the event.
Fair enough. Different type of misery, sure.
Tournament for Kill Team has always been at Las Vegas, it seems. So
yeah,
hopefully we can keep that going next year.
Yeah, we got a decent showing in the last one. Was it 68? Or was it below that? Was it 58? Maybe it was a number.
I might be wrong. It was yes, it was a number. That's true.
Okay, that's good. Yeah. You can't have dead air whilst we both sit here and think, yeah.
How many people were there?
Yeah. It's like the most interesting question we could possibly come up with. Okay, cool. So, yep, it's a big LVO. It's a summarize quickly for you. Is a big wargaming convention. Currently, so far, the biggest Kill Team events have occurred there as well. And now we're going into 2021, and that means that we have a new competitive pack to play with. Now, obviously, it's been a little bit strange this year because, so for those of you that don't know out there, typically, if you have wanted to play a competitive tournament pack for Kill Team, you've probably played something that Sheldon has put out, as you've done Slaughter Zone, which I know that certainly me and my local group were big fans of. That was kind of the first pack that, correct me if I'm wrong, that did everything that we now consider our current meta. So it was hold kill, it was 1-2-5.
Yeah.
Because before that, I mean, I think the last LVO was hold kill and 1-2-5 as well, wasn't it?
Well, so the first the first packet I wrote was for the SoCal Open, which was 125, but it was all hold. Yeah, and then I basically copied the GW, Annihilation rules and the arena rules for that event. And then I wrote the Slaughter Fest / Slaughter Zone packet before the LVO last year's packet came out. So it was technically the first packet that came out that had hold and kill as the main primary.
Okay.
But it wasn't the first event that was run with that. So technically, the Las Vegas Open ran
was the first to be run that way.
Yeah.
Although, of course, Slaughter Zone has been cancelled. Right?
Yes.
Yeah.
And actually, I'm wrong there. I don't want to say something wrong.
Okay. Sure.
There was an event, Magfest, Super Magfest, ran the Slaughterfest packet. So they actually technically had so it has an event been run before LVO.
Just not at the original intended place of Slaughterfest / Zone. Okay, cool.
Yes.
Fair enough. And certainly over in the UK, we had one tournament using it back in February. It was the same weekend I went to Prague.
Bad Moon?
Bad Moon, yeah. So it has been used in anger, just not at the originally intended place. Yeah.
Yes.
But now we have a new one, which is LVO 2021. Is that just what we're calling it? LVO 2021. Yeah. Okay, cool.
I call it the champions missions. You could call it because it's the LVO championship.
Stick with LVO 2021.
Yep.
Yeah. So can you very quickly define for us what the pack is? Like for those that have new players maybe that have somehow made it 10 minutes into this without us saying this, what is LVO 2021 as like just summed up?
some key important things about the packet. 125 points, hold kill. There's a max of 9 on the primaries, and then there are revealed secondaries rather than hidden secondaries, which is compared to other packets. You start off with your secondaries known to your opponent before the game begins. Another note is that it's a free, like, open choice style of secondaries. So there are 18 secondaries, and you can choose any 3 rather than sets or pods similar to the Slaughterfest packet. And the other note is that you start with 2 CP for being battle forged rather than 1, in addition to the 1 that you get from the leader. And let's see what else. Oh yeah, there's a set terrain layout going to be played on, and there is also a bonus objective for every mission, and that bonus objective can be scored in addition to the primaries and the secondaries. Yeah, I think that's pretty much in a nutshell what the format encompasses that
Okay.
might be relevant changes.
And so, for those that don't know, secondaries are something that seem to be ever changing between all the different packs, either in the
Yeah.
way they are given to us. So, for example, in pods of 6, or in open choice, pick anything you want, etc. And I quite like the different ways they can be given to us. But obviously, you're always drawing from the same pool per pack. So, what do you think, or what was the reason for picking some of the secondaries to put into the pack that you've picked? Were there any that were really giving you a lot of trouble and you thought, from LVO 2020, I know that this is a problem, so I've changed it, or anything like
Yeah.
that?
Yeah, the one of the big problems with the secondaries, you want to balance them around the format, obviously. So that's why these were balanced in with the consideration of being revealed versus being hidden. The other thing that's interesting note is that the secondaries have to be balanced around all the teams. So you don't want one team to just steamroll everybody because of their choice of secondaries, but you don't want another team to not have any chance. So you want to kind of balance the secondaries so that every team has viable options. But you don't. At least for me, my ethos is when you're writing a packet like this, is that you don't want a secondary to be an auto take. In any given matchup, there might be ones that are preferred, but I want to kind of make something that you can kind of have some of your own tactical. You can come up with new strategies for each mission and actually kind of make the game more interesting and more fun for yourself and give yourself a challenge for each mission. Another thing that we were kind of bouncing around was like the stacking of secondaries. So one thing that we had a problem with was, for instance, engage on all fronts and domination. You can just have 4 guys around the center objective, and they're all scoring engage on all fronts and domination and scoring an objective, and you're stacking all these things for basically just 4 people standing doing nothing, right? Similarly, you could have something where, recon sweep. What's the one with the board edges? I'm forgetting. Scout the field.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah.
So if you had scout the field and recon sweep, you could do the same and stack objectives just from having maybe one person in the corner on the enemy's deployment, and
Okay.
you could have
So, if I may jump in, because I find this quite an interesting question from a game design philosophy type perspective. Obviously,
yeah,
objective stacking is doable in the base kill team game, arena.
yes,
As you said, exactly that, where you have 4 guys in the center of the board, effectively max scoring you the game.
yeah.
Why don't you want it to be possible to objective stack? Like, what's the
Um,
thought process
one,
there?
yeah, the thought process is, first of all, there's been a lot of complaints about that coming my way, and you have to take that into consideration when you're running an event. Is that you want people to be happy with the packet, but then also I believe that what you see when you have that happen, and we saw that a lot at LVO, is you see a lot of just 21 max score across the board. Every map, they're taking the same 3 secondaries and they're scoring max, and the other opponent doesn't have as much agency to be able to influence that, and you want essentially both players to have agency in a competitive matchup. And so that was part of the reason for changing to revealed as well, because in that situation you have that agency right from the get-go when you're deploying your models. You know, oh, they're going to be going for domination, so I'm going to try and run into the center and help like deny that. Whereas in the current state of the game, you know, you might have the person run into the middle, you didn't even realize they were taking domination, and now you've set up for whatever you're doing, and you're unable to deny them that secondary. And yeah, the basis of that is you know, just from a lot of testing, a lot of play testing of the packets. It just ended up being a much more competitive format when things weren't stackable. Obviously, I mean, there's still, you can always stack things to some degree, but having easy stacks, I think, is the real thing trying to avoid from a game design perspective, because leads to more challenging, more interesting games, and yeah, like I said, more player agency, which is always a good thing.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Fair enough. I'm not going to give any sort of counter to that. I just wanted to know your thoughts on it.
I'd love to hear your thoughts though too. I mean,
Oh, I don't have any thoughts on that. My thoughts on it, I'd have to think about it more.
okay.
Like, genuinely, because it obviously affects the game a lot, but you have to first think about what's your intention with designing it that way. Like, are you trying to make the game more fun? Okay, but what is more fun? So you have to have a definition for that. Are you trying to make it more balanced? Okay, well, then you have to know the meta, you have to know what's the best, and then you have to know what's the worst, and then figure out, okay, well, is the best benefiting from the same stacking that the worst is benefiting from? Well, in that case, stacking doesn't matter. We need to figure something else out. You know, something like that. If everybody benefits from stacking, then nobody benefits from it, if you see what I mean.
Yeah. But I definitely think that from a design perspective, balancing the balance and the fun is better than trying to go one hard into one or the other. You know, if you go too fun, then you're not having a balanced tournament, and then there's feels bad for a player that can't compete in that format with their favorite army. And then on the other hand, if you balance things too much, then everybody's got the same army, and it's kind of just plug and play, and it's not as fun anymore. You know.
Sure. I mean, I think we're insulated from that ever being a factor, just because of the core rules we're using.
Yeah.
You know.
True.
But if we were designing a game from scratch, then that you could totally end up with that. I agree.
I found that with like Hold being the primary, though, you had sort of like everybody was playing the same basic positional game.
Sure.
And some teams, we found didn't want to play that positional game. Like you had a team like Custodes that didn't want to try and take 6 objectives. And they should be allowed to play in the format. That's sort of the ethos for the packet, balancing around the game that already exists too.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, that was obviously, that wasn't the reason why we changed Hold Kill, but it was possibly a consideration. I think.
Yeah.
Just off the top of your head, why did we move to Hold Kill? I know the answer, but I want to know if you know the answer.
You know the answer?
Yeah. I know the main excuse. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, the real reason could be stated that was working for Big 40K at the time with the ITC missions, and the problem with the Hold style is it just influences, like it just encourages more units doesn't really matter what kind of units they are. If you got more units on the table, it's better. So you have 20 shield drones or 20 Kroot or 20
Horde
poxwalkers.
domination.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I think Elliot said it the best. He said, if we're going to be balancing a game for any one faction to dominate over another, the one that you should be balancing to dominate should be the more elite faction than the more horde faction, because a more elite faction is already going to be at a disadvantage just from the game format. But I said that wrong. Essentially, you want to tip the scales towards the elites, because they're gonna be more badass in a real firefight, anyways, right? So it makes more sense.
Yeah, no,
I don't know.
No, I understand why that would be said. But I think the only thing I've really heard from the people themselves is that the mid-range team should be winning. If you go to either extreme of 20 or 3, they shouldn't be winning, right? The person that brings between, I think it's like 8 and 12, that's the sweet spot. That's what Kill Team is meant to be. When you're going all the way to the extremes, it's like, yeah, you could do that. You shouldn't be winning. That's not, yeah.
I don't know. With a few practice games so far that we've already done with the LVO packet, I've seen 3 Terminators, 3 Grey Knight Terminators, the Cystodes list win against a Horde, and I've seen a Horde beat the Death Guard. It's like I've seen both sides actually winning in this packet, so it's kind of fun to see that both extremes have a chance too.
Okay, as long as they don't win, I'm okay with it. They can win games, but they can't win the tournament. Yeah. No, I agree. Everyone should have a chance, obviously.
Yeah.
The best player should always win, right?
Yeah.
But the best team should be that middle ground, is my view, I guess.
Okay.
I mean, that's just my personal view, obviously. Somebody could come along and say, well, actually, I think that the entire game should be played at 5 models. I think people that run 5 should have the best one. Screw them. I don't like them.
Ideally, the team shouldn't matter. It should be the player, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Any team, if Michael T. Holy's running it, should win.
They will probably win. I agree. So kind of the main reason I brought you on here, apart from LVO in general, is to talk about 3CP. I'm not sure what the question is. So in LVO 2021, we are doing 2CP plus 1 for the leader, which we are abbreviating to just call 3CP. Why? Why run it in LVO 2021? That's the specific question to ask now. Not as a general statement, like why 3CP, but why in the tournament pack specifically.
So one of the things for the tournament, you may have seen if you've been paying attention on your Discord or other like the competitive Facebook group or Reddit. I posted a poll that was asking people what kind of secondary format they preferred for LVO, and the winner was easy open secondaries by like a large margin. Similarly, you ran a poll on your YouTube channel about whether or not people wanted to play with 2CP or 3CP. Generally, the question, I think, was more, you said, more targeted towards whether or not people would accept custom rules for an event.
That was the custom rule that I mentioned, and then just said, would you play in that event?
Yeah. But the overwhelming majority, to like a surprising degree, said that they would be willing to, I think it was like 80-20 or something like that out of like 800 people. And so I mean that to me,
that's definitive.
when I'm planning an event that's gonna be that massive, I don't want to be like, the soup Nazi telling people like that they're gonna play the way that I want them to play. They've gotta they've I want to make an event that's gonna appeal to the broadest range of players, right? So if the players vote for something that was similar to the 100 versus 125,
Sure.
the majority wanted 125, and so those kind of considerations. Say what you will about the efficacy of 2 versus 3 CP. That's a conversation in and of itself. But I think the fact that the majority wanted it, that's the most important consideration as a tournament organizer. Is you want to make the most people excited to come to your event as possible.
So obviously, I agree with you. I think 3CP is a good way to play the game, but I'm not going to argue that specifically. But I suppose my question is, nobody was asking for 3CP. It was an idea I had and posted and just said, guys, what do you think? Whereas people were asking for 125 because obviously we got that in elites kind of, so it was like a known thing. And I think that going to 3CP is because nobody was asking for it specifically. Like there wasn't like some big push from the community like, guys, this is the way to play. Although hopefully there will be now. But like you would have been safer to just say, to not even mention it. It's just like, it's 2CP, of course. That's what the game is. Like, was there a specific reason? Like you thought, you know what, actually this is just a better game? Or
well, in playtesting it was great. That's also a consideration. It really helped mitigate a lot of the issues that a lot of teams were having with their 2CP tactics just being things they didn't even want to use, like Recnet circuitry for AdMech or prime reanimation or something like that for Necrons. Like there were a lot of these 2CP tactics that at some point during a phase you had to either be consciously saving to use that one tactic, or you'd play through and you'd have to use a CP at some point during the phase, and then you would never be able to use that tactic. And I think with how many 2CP and even 3CP tactics there are, it makes a lot of sense to have the money in the bank to be able to actually use it. And it was a decision, to be honest, that was mostly influenced by your poll, to be completely honest. But the in practice, it didn't necessarily favor one team over another team because you're giving that 3CP across the board. And so it felt like a really fair upgrade to give teams that didn't necessarily benefit one over the other. And we could talk about how it kind of unnerfs Death Denied.
Well, no, bit of an interest. So, I think you've answered why is LVO 2021 doing 3CP. Let's talk about 3CP a bit more generally, though. So you just kind of said you found that it played well and generally has a positive effect on the game. Do you feel it has, or you don't have to have actually played it, just theory hammer it, think about it. Do you feel it benefits one team more than another team? And do you think this will actually change who was the strongest faction? Or do you think it's going to make everyone equally stronger?
I think it benefits almost every team equally, with the exception of maybe Astartes,
who obviously,
and that's just because of Death Denied. And having played Death Denied for years at 2CP, I didn't personally think it was broken, and so the fact that they can still use it once per turn, I don't think breaks the game.
Yeah.
So the the fact that they're still able to do what they were doing at the beginning of the game when Death Denied was 2 CP. The difference is that now all of their opponents have an extra CP to battle that said Death Denied. I think is inherently balances it.
Yeah, Death Denied being 2 CP isn't the same as Death Denied being 3 CP and you getting 3 CP a turn. The opponent has more they can do with an extra CP there. Yeah.
Exactly.
I okay, fair enough. Although I will point this out. Crew don't use tactics, so it's just another nerf to Crew, really.
You can jump over a gap.
6-inch gap, I think. Yeah, or is it only
really
4
important.
inches? Yeah. Terrible. But yeah.
Actually, they do have a cool tactic that I think doesn't get used because of the fact
they
that
need to reroll. Yeah.
The rerolls are so important. But with the extra CP, that tactic, I don't remember the name of it, but it's the one where after you kill something, it's like enhanced biology or something like that.
Yeah, you get +1 strength or toughness or something.
It makes. I think you get to choose. I think that's what it does. Double check. But yeah, the idea is that everybody uses rerolls, right? Generally, this is just going to be one more reroll for everybody, right? When it comes down to it. But the fact that you're not necessarily just using the rerolls, I think it kind of opens up that like extra CP a turn that you're going to be able to make some sort of strategic decision that you wouldn't have otherwise been able to even really consider because you're so starved for CP that it made you like really question ever using one even for the reroll. You had to kind of is this even worth it?
We just finished my last battle report between Tyranids and Silence just finished playing, where I gave my thoughts on using 3 CP in a game, and I meant what I said at the end, where I said that there is a big difference between being able to play a 2 CP tactic and a 1 CP tactic in the same turn than only being able to do a 2 CP tactic. Certainly, like mentally, you feel like, oh, I can really go for this. Even if the big 2 CP tactic fails, I'm still doing something useful with the extra 1 CP instead of a reroll, right? And
believe me, as a Necron player, having to do Mind Shackle Scarabs, it's like, do I really want to risk this all on a leadership test?
Exactly, yeah. And I think, obviously, well, we can talk about Necrons a little bit later, maybe. Because they seem to be very strong.
But generally, I think, it opens up the playing field to that 2 CP tactic more reliably. By the way, it was Hyper Evolution, and it's move and strength for the Kroot.
Oh, okay.
I looked it up.
Cool.
Yeah. But, the other consideration is that something that we've been trying to balance, it seems like in Kill Team for a while, is this idea that you'll have this tiny grot leader hiding behind some barrel, which doesn't feel very fluffy to the game, especially in Warhammer, where almost every leader in the fluff is some really strong buff beast that's like leading everybody, right?
From the front with a chainsword in a tank.
Yeah.
But in Kill Team, he's the smallest model, hidden.
Okay. Hiding behind like a box. So I think the fact that your leader doesn't like cripple you if he's dead makes a big change. And then that coupled with the lead from the front secondary, which gives the possibility for you to justify taking a stronger leader. And the fact that they have the extra CP for maybe a what's it called, the
Lead by example. Yep.
Yeah. They that sort of thing we'll see in practice, but it might lead to bigger, stronger leaders actually finally making their way onto the tabletop.
Yeah.
Which is a good thing.
Cool. This seems like... Do you have anything else you want to say about 3CP in general?
Play it. Just test it out, guys.
I agree.
Let us know.
I think it's a really good fun. Like, competitive, casual, it's a better game. Better. However you define better. I had more fun playing. So, you mentioned their lead by example. I think that's a good segue into the idea of different secondaries. We won't spend too long on this per se, but in my mind, there are 3 types of secondaries. There are kill secondaries, there are positional secondaries, and then there are action secondaries. Now, this is something that Big 40k has kind of just taken, into ninth. But I don't really mean what they mean. So I use the word action in a poor way, because in Big 40k now there are I think it's actually called making an action, where you essentially put your squad somewhere and they perform an action, and then later you score a point. What I mean when I say performing an action is, for example, in Lead from the Front, if that's what it's called, there are 3 ways of scoring one of those points. Your leader gets a kill in close combat, or with a shooting weapon, or you play a tactic. What are your thoughts on secondaries where the primary way of scoring it is by the player doing an action? For example, in this case, it's playing the lead by example. That can't be countered, it can't be blocked. You just make the choice. You look at your CP. Yes, I have a CP. Do you play the tactic or not?
You can't use it if you're not in a situation where there's an opportunity to use it.
Sure. But there are other forms of this, which they're not in... they're kind of in your pack. Well, you could argue that Dogpile is kind of performing an action, right? Like, obviously there are ways to stop it, but ultimately you just have to say, these 2 models are going to charge, right?
Yeah.
Obviously, yes, you then have to successfully charge and stuff.
Yeah.
But what are your thoughts on those kinds of secondaries? Secondaries that can't be stopped once the player has decided to do it, kind of. Do you think that
I agree that they can't be stopped, because especially now with the secondaries being revealed.
No, sure.
If you know that the leader is coming up the board to a certain point, you can get out of maybe charge range, that sort of thing.
I'm more talking about theoretical secondaries that aren't actually in your pack. So things like, they have been in other packs, but when I say that, they might have been secondaries I made and then never have put into a pack. I forget.
No, there's a good example. I think one of the packs I made, Arena Commander, there was a secondary you could score from a commander doing an aura ability, and that was based off of the Kiev format. That 100% could be done without ever your opponent being able to stop it, other than maybe just killing that commander.
Yeah, of course.
So I definitely think that it's an interesting. I think the mark of a good secondary, for me at least personally, is that there is some risk associated with scoring the point. For instance, engage on all fronts. The risk is that you have models in so many board corners that the odds are pretty high that your opponent is going to have line of sight, or be able to kill them, because they're having to stand there to score the point.
Yeah, sure.
And so now they have a free target. Oh, I know if I kill these 2 guys that you're not going to have anybody in this board corner, etc. Right? the idea that using your command points could be that said risk, and now you don't have them for various other abilities, etc. You've now committed yourself to your leader fighting in combat, which means now you have your leader that has to be on the front lines in close combat with the enemy. And in addition, you have to have a second model in close combat in order to use the tactic, right? Because there has to be a second model that can fight. So there's a lot of give and take in terms of what you're risking in order to score, and I think that's the mark of a good secondary, is that at some level you're having to risk something to score it, because then it feels like, I've actually made a conscious decision in order to score this.
Yeah.
Whereas with primaries, it's like, obviously I'm going to go to an objective, and obviously I'm going to try and kill the enemy. It's like, sure. But with a secondary, it should feel like a team has a mission to accomplish.
Yeah, I mean that's one of the kind of I did ages ago. What is the purpose of a secondary kind of thing?
Yeah.
Some may have already seen it and have remembered my question on this, but I think it still holds true, as like, I'm not saying there's a right answer here, but to know what a secondary should be for your pack personally as a TO, you have to ask the question, is a secondary a reward for doing something you were going to do anyway, or is it a reward for doing something that you are pushing yourself to do? Is it a reward or a push, basically? And you seem to be lying more on the side of it's a push. So do this that you weren't going to do anyway, and you get a reward. Unlike,
I think of a secondary as... Oh, sorry.
No, I was going to say, so things like cut apart.
Yeah.
That's a reward. You were going to do that anyway, right? If you take cut apart, you haven't taken an all-shooting team and thought, actually, I'm going to get some melee in on this bad boy. No, you've taken a melee team, and you are going to engage the enemy in melee.
Yeah.
And you've taken cut apart because that's your entire game plan anyway. I guess when you kind of... Yeah.
I could talk for hours about the how things like cut apart shouldn't be in a hold kill game, like attrition or in their ranks. It's essentially saying, oh, you're gonna score the primary. You also get a secondary point.
Yeah. Well, talking about that then, it's not obliteration now, is it? It's called something else.
Overkill.
Overkill.
Yeah.
So that is, to my mind, the same as cut apart, but for a shooting team. Although it can be scored in melee as well, obviously.
Yeah. But
is cut apart in your pack?
It's been slightly modified.
Okay.
It's called let me double check so I get it right, but it's called
but
abduction.
No. Oh yes, you have to be outside of 2 inches of another enemy model. Is that right?
No, it's essentially think of it like it's cut apart and proximity alert combined.
Oh, okay.
So you have to get cut apart while you have 2 models in combat.
To me, overkill with the addition that you've added from obliteration seems almost... I'm not sure when you wouldn't take it. Like, if you were considering of taking any kill secondary, that seems like the one to take. Because either you could do it with, a single shot from a plasma, or whatever.
Yeah.
Which is kind of the standard way to get obliteration. Or, now, a flamer can get it easy as well, or anything like that.
Yes.
So...
Well, that was sort of the balance, was as it stood with obliteration, only something like a plasma could take it. Now, anybody can take it. And... there's something to be said for when we were coming up with and balancing these objectives, like the goal wasn't necessarily to make them all impossible for every team. So something like this was actually put in more for a team that's already struggling to compete with the big dogs,
Yeah. I mean, well, yeah, it's... I think it's really difficult to provide. Is it 12 secondaries? 18?
18.
18 secondaries that, and have none of them be the best, kind of, for both the worst team and the best team. You know, I don't think that's really doable without going into faction-specific secondaries, which I believe is something you guys just talked about on Beer and Id's podcast. Is that right?
It's something Beernid's actually, he's already written like a first draft of a packet with faction-specific secondaries. So he's working on that actively right now.
Cool.
And
it's a lot
if you're a part of the Command Point Discord, you might be a part of the testing of that, the play testing.
Anything that doesn't have it in my Discord is dead to me. So I don't I don't pay attention to that. But yeah, no, it's a lot of work. I'm glad somebody that isn't me is doing that work. Because
To be honest, I never went on any Discords but yours until the Bats tournament.
I think the Bats has been really good. Has been really good fun. As was the one before it. And I assume, from the sounds of it,
Command Point Invitational
CP guys are just going to keep on running them, which is pretty fun, I think.
Well, I thought the next one is going to be yours, right? Because that's why we timed it around your... You were going to do one for the LGT pack?
Yeah, I wanted to, but then I decided I didn't want to now, because I think the zeitgeist it's too late, you know? Like, the first one was really good, because it was like everybody's locked down, and then your one actually... I wasn't surprised it maxed out at 64. I had expected it to. But even then, you were getting a few people, like, for example, the Strategic Advantage guys, Emmanuel, as I call him, and Alex said, sorry, we've got to go back to work. We can't dedicate time to this anymore.
No, but we got Janice.
Yes. Is she still in it? She got knocked out, didn't she?
No, she got knocked out. But we got her in the tournament. That's what matters.
Exactly. So, yeah, I think... I was really hyped for it originally, but I think quarantine is kind of done, and a lot of people are just going back to work now.
Be that as it may, a good or bad thing.
Well, that's... I assume you're coming on to my political channel podcast next week, where we're going to discuss the patriarchy. I don't know. Okay, yeah, cool. So I got completely sidetracked by asking that question, and I've completely forgotten where we are.
Yeah, we were talking about secondaries, I believe.
We were action secondaries. We kind of
talking about
said
cut
what
apart.
we wanted. About what, sorry?
Cut apart.
Yes. It's an easy one
obliteration.
to score. No, I quite like overkill. I think it's a good secondary. But I'm always someone that likes killing secondaries. Like, I know that about myself. I know that's not a good thing. If I was, you know, going hard, I probably wouldn't take killing secondaries. It depends. I haven't, but I know that's one of my foils, kind of.
Speaking of killing secondaries, what do you think about my not killing secondary, aka Survivor? Surviving secondary.
So, this is the one where you elect a model at the beginning of the game, and as long as it doesn't die, you get 3 CP, essentially, right?
Yeah, you can get 2 CP if it has, you know, a flesh wound.
Then, yeah. I feel... So, I remember this, like, when you first put it out in... I think it was in Slaughter Zone, was it?
Yep.
Yeah. So, I was having a chat with one of my other patron guys. I think it was, Shoe on Head? Whatever his name is. The guy... He's got the word shoe in his name.
You tie my shoes?
That's the one. I don't know why I thought shoe on head. Yeah. You tie my shoes. And we were having a NASA and on stream. And we both kind of said, oh, I'll just put it on my leader.
Yeah.
And you were listening and you said, that's a bad decision. So it's possible that I haven't fully thought through Survivor. I have played with it in a proper game.
Yeah.
But I think I put it on my leader, and it worked out fine because obviously I hid my leader.
You can put it on your leader. That's definitely an option.
Yeah.
But especially on like an open board format where you can have reserves and that sort of thing, I think that the real key play would be to put it on some very like Terminator style unit, or like a crisis suit or something like that.
I
I've
don't know,
had really
man.
good.
I've lost a custodian.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, why? Like, you can always roll ones. What you can't roll
True.
ones on is someone that doesn't ever get shot.
Yeah.
Like, that's my general viewpoint on that. But again, I would only be running Survivor because obviously you're playing the pack knowing that's the thing. If I knew I was never going to be tempted by lead from the front or any sort of leader type thing. So, I mean, you're not going to run Survivor and lead from the front and put them both on the leader, right? You're going to say, I'm taking a Gretchen. If my
You
Gretchen
can if
is
you're
ever
playing
seen,
those 4D chess moves.
Yeah, well, yeah. And the opponents, they're like, what? Yeah. You're going to take a crap leader and you're going to hide that leader and just hope it doesn't get hit. And that's
or alternatively, a good leader and hide the leader, so you've got double protection.
Oh, yeah, sure. I mean, that'd be better. But I had assumed if you're running a Terminator, you're not hiding that Terminator.
Depends on the range of his weapons.
That is true. That is true. Yeah, I mean, you could put it on a scarab gunner, scarab occult.
Yeah.
With his Hellfire missile rack, he can get some serious work done there. I wouldn't do that, but good for them. Whoever wants to do that, sure. Although it's an interesting one for custodies. That might be an auto take almost. I haven't thought it through properly, but if you die as a custody, well, you've probably
kind of losing
anyway. So chucking on, yeah.
But it does kind of harken back to our discussion about the goal of the secondaries, and that's to reward different actions, and surviving is an action, even though it's
Do you see surviving's a tainted action though, for exactly the reason we just discussed of taking a grot? And it's like, I agree. If there was a way to say, stupid idea, obviously, I'm not saying we should do this, it'd be a terrible game, but you cannot take a model below 15 points, right? Something. Every model is then you have to play it essentially. Then it's like, okay, well, actually now you are choosing to survive by not playing with a significant portion of your points, right?
Yeah. Although if you think about the way that the packet works, you're revealing that you have Survivor, not necessarily which model before you ever deploy. And so if you think about it that way, as soon as you tell someone, oh, I have Survivor, they could immediately put a model in reserves just to attack your Survivor. And so that's sort of the benefit of the revealed secondaries.
Yeah.
The kind of give and take and push and pull that it allows you strategically.
Yeah, I don't mind revealed secondaries. I think that's fine. I don't think it really affects the way No, that's not right, sorry. I think it makes the game easier to play for people that haven't played a lot of it, which is a good thing in my mind. So obviously, if you're on the top 8 tables at LVO, chances are you know what your secondaries your opponent has, right? Or if you don't know, it doesn't matter because it's not going to change what you would do anyway. Right?
Yeah,
because you have picked secondaries that don't interact in some way. Whereas a new player that suddenly rocks up and is like, by the way, you don't know how I'm going to win this game. I feel like that's like, well, does that matter? Don't know.
Yeah.
What was it? 56. Okay.
Yeah, it does seem to like help out less experienced players, which could be considered a good thing or a bad thing depending on your ethos of a tournament scene, but I think a healthy tournament scene, is going to have some people there that literally just bought their model at the secondhand shop and they've never played a game before, and they're like, "Oh, Kill Team sounds fun. I'm here in Vegas."
Yeah. I'm not saying I want that person to win, but they
Yeah,
should be able
I know.
to play. Yes, I agree. My stance on games in general and my channel in general is always I want new people to start playing the game. There you go.
Yeah.
And I don't really care what I have to do to make that happen. I'll lie. I'll say crazy things like, yes, Kill Team is a good game. Boom. Anyway, talking about secondaries.
Yeah.
Right, so you ran a poll.
Oh, yeah.
Saying what type of secondary picking mechanism do people want to play with, right? And you had a whole different bunch of styles on there. And you eventually picked the style that was picked quite significantly by the majority, right?
Yeah.
Which was restricted
easy open choice.
Easy open choice.
So there was easy open choice.
Oh, okay.
Hard open choice. D12 pods.
Yeah.
Maelstrom style objectives. Set objectives, and elimination style objectives. So there was the style that you were planning on running at the LGT with the elimination style. I made a Maelstrom set of objectives for my casual packet that I released a while ago. We had the set objectives for the original Annihilation GW and arena missions.
Yeah.
And then there was hard open choice at BAO and in my SoCal Open this year pack. And then we had the easy open choice at BAO last year and also LVO earlier this year. Yeah. And then the D12 pods was from the Slaughterfest. And essentially the question was, what do people want to play? And, I kind of wanted to put it out there. I was hoping people would pick the D12 pods, since that's my favorite.
Sure.
But, I'm not going to argue with the majority.
Yeah, and it was quite a majority, wasn't it? Do you remember, how much it won by?
Well, depending on how you judge the winning, because the first place was the easy open.
Yeah.
The second place was the D12 pods, but then the third place was the hard open. So if you think about it from that, open secondaries in general got
right.
A much higher.
So what is the difference between easy open and hard open?
Less is the first thing. So instead of 18, there's only 12. Is a one thing that they're generally going to be harder to score than the easier ones. Less stacks, that sort of thing, etc. More more set to give everybody a difficult time.
Okay.
Essentially. Like a challenge rather than let's all play the game. So it looks like so easy open choice got about 47% of the votes, it looks like.
Right.
Just looking at the results right now. And then the Slaughterfest style got 20% of the votes.
So that's a big gap.
Yeah. And that was the second. So going down from almost 50% down to 20%.
Yeah. Huge. Okay, interesting. So that's fine. We know what that is. We don't need to discuss that too much. But let's ignore LVO 2021 now. Personally, what type of you've just answered that. But you can answer again and say why. What type of secondary picking mechanism do you prefer? And
my preferred secondary style is the D12 pods style that I had come up with for Slaughterfest. And a lot of that was I forgot there was actually one more style, which was Nova, which was the Ultima style, which was like where where you kind of, the reason I bring that up now is because that was sort of the impetus for why I created the D12 pods.
Right.
Was because when I was at the Nova Open, they had the Ultima style, which is from the Arena book, which essentially, because Arena came with a set of cards that labeled all of the secondaries, you could pick out 6 cards, and it was essentially saying we both have these 6 objectives out of the group
Right.
to play in this game, and both players could pick 3 from that 6 that was like drawn randomly.
Yeah.
And it was a lot of fun, and the one thing I really liked about it was that it made every game like a brand new type of challenge. And so instead of just, oh, I know what I'm going to do, oh, this is, I'm playing Death Watch, I'm going to want to bring this secondary. It was like, okay, I'm playing Death Watch, and now we've picked these 6 things, and out of these 6 things I have to choose what I can do. And there were a lot more restrictions. And because of those restrictions, I found games where you were a lot more like thinking on your feet and coming up with strategies in the heat of the moment, which could be argued is like a better indicator of strategic skill or strategic ability, is your ability to think in the moment. Whereas some people, for instance, Byrnid thinks that the best is to like plan everything out in advance to like the nth degree, right? And have spreadsheets and
I know his thoughts.
and maps.
I disagree.
And so the happy medium, because I found it at Nova specifically when we were doing the Ultima style, the biggest problem I had was you would have, for instance, I was playing Eldar, and the only reason I brought Eldar was because I knew they could do pretty much whatever came up, right? Yeah. No matter what secondaries I picked, I had a way of scoring them with my team. But, you looked at like something like Tau, they're picking, cut apart and proximity alert, and those are like the options. It's like, what am I going to do? Now I have to play the way that my team doesn't want to play, and I'm immediately at a disadvantage just because of the set of 6 that I've chosen, or that came up. The problem is, in a tournament, that might be okay if every single player at the tournament also has to deal with those same limitations. But what I was finding was, okay, maybe this Tau player on this table gets a whole bunch of shooting secondaries, and the Tau player at the table right next to him gets a whole bunch of melee secondaries.
Sure.
And that's not necessarily fair. And so, the way that I was thinking to sort of make that, still keep the thinking on your feet and having things, dynamic, but having it different or it's the same from every table to every table instead of different at each table, was that there would be a set of secondaries that the TO would roll, and everybody at every table played table
same
2
map,
or whatever.
Same pod of secondaries. Yeah. Okay.
And that way, even if necessary, you're at a disadvantage because of that set, at least everyone is playing with the same disadvantage, instead of, that guy's playing exactly what he wants, and then I've got to play the worst things that I don't want to,
Sure. Just trying to find that balance between kind of total randomness, like exactly as you say, some guy Tau could steamroll right to the top because every round they got, I got the long board, the short board edges, so he had to take 2 turns to close on me, and I managed to roll always shooting.
Always got death from afar, and
exactly, well, Tau don't want that, but and it's like, okay, well, or of course you did better than the other Tau, who always deployed, like surrounded by the enemy, and only close combat secondaries.
So I like the sort of like fun dynamic games that you get in the randomness.
Yeah.
but I didn't want it to be unfair at a tournament level. So that's my
So,
favorite. You know,
so one big
tech.
issue that a lot of people say about that factor is,
Yeah,
so this is something that people say about, I believe we should have open secondaries because XXX, and
yeah,
whenever you say, well, actually I prefer, pods or whatever, they will
yeah,
say, but every faction isn't as tactically flexible, right?
yeah,
And if they have to prioritize tactical flexibility, then they can't run their best list. For example, I'm not saying this is actually their best list, but let's say Tyranids, they want to run the 20-man swarm, right? That
yeah.
means they can only run that one list, right? And therefore
Sure,
they are
yeah.
not tactically flexible. To which I say, tough. I don't care.
Which I,
The game should
yeah,
be balanced, in my opinion, just like I also think it should be balanced around smaller medium teams, so not on the
yeah,
extremes. If you want to run all melee or all shooting, those are the extremes, right?
yeah,
You shouldn't be winning a game by having, you know, 20 models that sit on your back line, essentially.
yeah,
And I am a big proponent of forcing people to play tactically flexibly. Um, I'm not saying
tactically flexible.
it's a
Yeah,
tough one. I'll have to brainstorm it. Yeah, uh, I'm not saying that.
flexibly tactical.
Let's go with that. Sure. I'm not saying that. For example, I'm not saying it's fair that if you're running Tau, you should be forced to take close combat secondaries.
Yeah,
That's not what I'm saying at all. That's not tactically flexible. That is playing against type, which isn't what you want to do
yeah,
because that's how you lose games, unless you're forced into it by some bizarre manner. However, I do think that secondary should promote a style of play where you you sometimes have to think about the list you're going to run, right?
yeah,
I don't think as Tau it should always be the best list to run. 3 snipers, recon drone. You're always going to run that though, but ignore
yeah.
that. And then shield drone spam, right? I think there
Well,
should be a secondary that makes you say, okay, you know what? Actually, I don't need 12 shield drones. I would actually
yeah,
benefit more from whatever
crisis suit.
breaches, a crisis.
Yeah,
Sure, I think the crisis suit is the easy one to make valuable. Something like there could be a secondary, not survivor. You've coined that called tank. Survive X shots.
yeah,
Something like that. Or make X armor saves. Right.
yeah. Well, that was sort of the thing about the Slaughter Fest secondary pods was that when I made them, it wasn't just like they were 6 random objectives in each pod, and it
No,
was
of
just
course. Yeah.
completely random. They were all sort of
Balance.
balanced
Yeah.
around giving every team something to do, right? So there was always
100%.
at
Yeah.
least one melee objective and at least one shooting objective and at least one elite objective and at least one horde objective, so that even though they were random, each random set was inherently balanced, and that was sort
Yes.
of the part of the
Yeah. No.
goal of
I,
that.
I. I actually quite like that way of doing it. I think that if you have hello, if you manage to have balanced pods that in
Yeah,
some way promote everything and allow for every play style, that is the way it should be played. Like the
yeah,
game in general with secondaries. Uh, Obviously, I personally went for that elimination style of secondaries in my pack
yeah,
because I thought it was a very elegant solution between the two.
yeah.
I thought you can have ridiculous secondaries that are pretty easy to score without having to care about balance because they can only ever happen once. You can't
Yeah.
have it like in open where you're going to build your team to score those 3 secondaries, right? And it might change.
So
It might change. Like you might not run it against a psyker team or
yeah,
against custodies. You won't take that one objective. You'll swap it to another one. But I still think open choice is bad and not how people should play the game. Yeah. That's the
So,
line in the sand.
are you, now that LGT has officially been canceled, are you still gonna put out the pack for everybody? Because that would be cool, like for people to be
Uh,
able to still try playing that style.
yeah, well, two things. Firstly, maybe because I am in some way involved with a tournament that's happening in Germany in December. And
Oh,
we
the
might,
Black Forest.
yeah, we
Yeah,
might be running mine then. I'm not sure. So obviously, if I'm running it then I will 100% release it, like a month or two before, so that people can start playing it and kind of do it in collaboration there. But I actually, whilst I think that elimination style secondaries are good for an actual tournament, I think they're really
yeah,
tough to playtest because
that's true. Yeah.
whenever you playtest, you have access to all of them. So unless you know your roster really well, and you're thinking, okay, I need to take my worst secondaries here,
Yeah.
because, and it's like, but then logically
Just
you wouldn't have
play
done
through
that.
a logic round of like, okay,
Yeah,
I'm gonna
yeah,
play these guys. Let me pick 3 secondaries and then cross those 3 out. And I'm gonna play
exactly.
this round and cross 3 more out, and then go, okay, now I've got to play with what's left.
Yeah. So I think that's kind of the big failing of elimination secondaries. I'm not saying you can't playtest them, but they are frustrating to playtest. And obviously,
Makes sense.
playtesting a pack is what a lot of people like to do.
Yeah.
Like, whenever back in the olden days, when me and the boys used to actually meet up in person, we would just grab out, the last, I think it was a few months, we would be playing Slaughter Zone. So we just pull out the
Yeah.
pack, roll it up, we're done, we're ready to go.
Yeah.
And I also prefer pods because they're less brain power to start off with. So if you have a new player and you give him, hey, here's 18 secondaries, pick one, pick three. It's like,
Yeah.
what?
Yeah.
So actually, when I went to LVO 2020,
Yeah.
that was the first time I'd ever played open secondaries.
Oh
I
yeah.
did not like it. And for the rest of the tournament, I picked the same three. I think there was one game when I
Yeah.
didn't, but that was
Well,
blind.
that's one of the arguments against open secondaries is that when if you're able to, as a TO, collect the data of what secondaries were chosen by
Yeah,
everybody in each round with like a scorecard or whatever, you do tend to find that there's like maybe 60%, maybe 70% of the players just pick 3 every round. Oh, okay.
yeah, yeah,
These are my 3. Sticking to them. They're my trusty,
yeah,
my loyal 3 or whatever.
yeah,
And then you have the like kind of next 20 or 30% of players that have like 2. They're like their trusty ones, and then one that kind of changes based on their matchup. But then you've
yes,
got, your like higher echelon people, and these are the people who tend to be on the top tables that are picking a whole separate 3 almost every, like, you have like maybe one that's staying the same, but they're
yeah,
really going, match dependent, mission dependent, and really taking it to the next level. And when one of the arguments against open secondaries is, oh, you just pick the same 3, it's boring, But I think it opens things up that, like, you don't have to necessarily do that, and it might actually be better not to do that, because in an open secondary format, you can tailor your secondaries to each mission, each player, and you can really get down into like the nitty gritty of like really like, okay, I'm gonna roster differently for these different secondaries that I'm trying to accomplish, which I think would be easier against this type of opponent. Or I know this guy's been running this secondary for the whole tournament, and
yeah,
I've got
yeah.
some insider information from my buddy who just played him or something.
I mean, there is an argument to be said for that, but I don't have the data. What can I say? But my belief was that even on the top 8, everyone just kind of picked the same. Not the same within the whole of the top 8, but they stuck to their favourites. Unless there was some reason that was very, very obvious against the opponent. I see that you...
Can you still see me?
I can still see you.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
There we go.
It went dark, but yeah, I see. Like if you're against Custodies, you don't take Cut Apart. Something super obvious like that. Or if you're against a Swarm, you don't take Engage on All Fronts or whatever.
Yeah.
That was only my experience, and I didn't win, so maybe I'm incorrect. I don't know.
But you were in the top 8, so
I was playing Necrons. Anybody could have managed that. Yeah.
Hey, don't sell yourself short. You're the only person that beat Michael T. Holy throughout the whole tournament. So
that is true. What? It took me a while to appreciate that it was a real win, because for a while I was like, well, he didn't know that we were going to finish in the next round instead of play it out, even though we'd hit time. But then eventually I was like, nah, he made a mistake. Yeah. I capitalized on it. Who cares? That's a win to me.
Exactly.
He would have definitely won if we'd played that final round, but we didn't. Slow played. I slow played to a win, man. That's how it goes.
Hey, as somebody who has TO'd for many tournaments that Michael T. Holy has been at,
yes.
and heard everyone complain about him slow playing, even though it is what it is. But it's nice that you got it back there. You got.
Yes. Yeah. Okay. This is now. So for those of you at home that aren't aware, I am following bullet points that I've written off on my other screen here. And at an hour 19 in, I have written my issue with LVO 2021. But I forgot why I wrote that. So I'm just gonna go with something off the cuff here. I don't know what I was thinking when I jotted that down.
Coronavirus.
Do you want to quickly talk about? I feel like we are way too late in the podcast to talk about this, but is LVO actually going to happen?
We'll see.
Okay, fair enough, yeah.
I'm not. Yeah, I'm not. First of all, I'm not a fortune teller. But then, second of all, I have absolutely no say in the matter. So, even if I 100% wanted it to go through or didn't want it to go through, it would not influence things in any way.
Yeah, sure.
And it's two people that really influence it. Whoever owns or controls Bally's casino, and then whoever is in charge of the government of Las Vegas. Those are the people who get to tell us whether or not we have LVO this year. Not me, not Frontline Gaming.
That's fair, yeah. Obviously, to give any other answer would be crazy. They are currently selling tickets, though, aren't they? So it's on as much as it can be on.
Yes, because they're contractually obligated as long as Bally's doesn't cancel it, which so far they haven't.
Right.
So they actually have to sell tickets.
Okay.
And the every ticket, if you actually look at the fine print, has a whole bunch of the refund stuff has changed this year from previous years because of the coronavirus considerations. Right. So there's you can, I think it's you can put, if it gets canceled, you can put it immediately towards a ticket, the same ticket for next year.
Right.
They can give you Frontline Gaming full price. I think they can give you full credit at the Frontline Gaming store or something like that.
Sure.
And then if you want cash back, then it's minus 10% handling fee or something like that.
Right.
They have, or you can donate it to the cause sort of thing. I think there's but they have it all. It's all in the fine print.
Yeah.
Of every ticket you buy.
Okay, fair enough. So I've forgotten what I was going to say about my issue with LVO. So we're just going to skip that bullet point.
It just means that it wasn't a big issue, I guess.
What it was you had said something in the last hour that made me write that bullet point, because that was one I wrote now live, but I forgot it. So there you go.
Your issue is that it's not 4CP.
That could be it. That could be it. My issue is that it's not in the UK, and therefore it's too hard to
There you
get
go.
to. Yeah, I think. No, I
Well,
loved going to LVO last year. It was really good fun.
yeah.
Obviously provided for almost entirely by the fans, which was amazing.
Yeah.
I
that
wish
was
I'd done
cool.
more whilst I was out there. But I played in the tournament, which is all I was morally obligated to do. But yeah, I wish I'd done, and I would highly recommend it to anybody. It's the Vegas experience. I went for a few days early as well.
Assuming the world comes back to normal, at some point, not probably this year because I think it's still too soon. For
anything
for like international travel. But like next year, assuming I'm still running the show, it would be cool to have you come and be like the sponsored, like the shoutcaster.
Oh yeah, sure. No, I'd love to head out there again. Definitely. I mean, this year is just nothing's happening. I haven't told anybody this. Exclusive news. So the LGT obviously just got cancelled. After having originally been pushed back a few days before the guy cancelled it. I'm not saying I caused it, but no, I didn't. I told him, look, I'm not gonna host it in September. Like, it's just too early.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna put myself into an enclosed space with 1,000 other people. Right.
Yeah.
Even if we're all wearing masks and there's reduced capacity because we're all 2 meters apart, I was like, nah, that's just silly at this point. Might as well.
And that's what I tried to say. I don't know if you watched Bjornid's thing, but that was sort of my, PSA that I was trying to get out to people was, you gotta imagine that anytime you go out, you could get it, and everybody that you meet has it, right? So if it doesn't matter how much you love playing a game, it's probably not worth the risk. But if it is, maybe, for instance, someone had coronavirus and they know that they've recovered and something, and they're like, I don't mind the risk, that's something personally they can take into consideration. Sure. But I think most people need to be cognizant of the fact that it's not just about death. You see this number, the deaths are 1% or whatever. It's like, you could get all sorts of other complications. So it's not worth, risking your safety. I think if you got to think about that.
No. Fuck them. Fuck people. Think about other people. I don't care if you die from coronavirus. Not you personally, obviously. People in general. But don't give it to other people. That is genuinely my primary reason for not going and being a twat at the moment. Which is, if I get it, I'll probably live. Probably.
Yeah.
But if I were to give it to my parents and they died, fuck that.
Yeah.
I would then kill myself later. In a very genuine sense, I wouldn't be able to handle having killed both of my parents, even if it's a 1% chance, right?
Or even just one of them, Yeah.
Well, I do have a favourite though, so No. But so I just wouldn't risk that at all.
Fair.
Anyway, moving on.
Yeah.
Because again, for some reason, masks are political now, and that clearly needs to be in my political podcast.
Is it political in England as it is over here? Because over here it's crazy.
No, not as it is over there.
Oh, okay.
There it genuinely seems to be left and right divide. It is still political over here somehow, but let's not get into that. But right.
Let's talk about Kill Team.
Yeah,
isn't that what we're here for?
I guess. So we're kind of done with LVO 2021 chat now. And I guess the next question, therefore, we're kind of going off-piste somewhat. And by off-piste, I mean we're sticking to my bullet points. So the opposite of off-piste, if you will. Let's talk about Commanders a little bit.
Ah, yes.
So, I lately. Now, you know what? This might be a bit of a push from ninth, right? Why have I suddenly wanted to start looking into Commanders more? Is it because I'm not? This is rhetorical. I'm talking to myself. I'm monologuing.
Yeah.
Is it because I've seen ninth and I've seen Combat Patrol and I'm like, you know what? That kind of looks like fun. Why don't I? But I do prefer the alternating activations of Kill Team,
Yeah.
and I'm obviously much more comfortable with that game. This game,
Yeah.
Am I looking to bring Commanders in because I want a reason to stay, or am I doing it just because I've been playing for so long now and I want something new, or am I doing it because of other reasons? I haven't thought of a third example. And Commanders. And so I'm thinking about them and I'm thinking, did we abandon them competitively too soon? Or should they stay uncompetitive? You know?
I definitely think we... well, the problem is we abandoned them too soon, but for good reason. And then the reasons went away and we stayed away from them. Even though, so essentially, you look at the timeline of the way Kill Team came out. It was the core manual came out, and then Rogue Trader, which people are like, what? There's a commander? What is that?
Yeah.
And then Commanders came out, and when at this point, where we have now Commanders and the core manual, Commanders, in my opinion, was unbalanced. It was a very bad game. It was not created with the idea of being a competitive, balanced game. However, then Elites came out, and what I think Elites did, whether intentional or unintentional, I personally thought it was intentional when I read the book and the rules. I think it went back and balanced Commanders. And I think Elites took the core manual and the Commanders and actually all three together created a balanced game. In addition, I think the other kind of thing that happened around that time was Blackstone Fortress, which brought us a few, a group commander and a few commanders for other teams that I think all together kind of created a balanced competitive game. The problem is we wrote it off back when Commanders came out because at that point it was unbalanced and everybody could see it. The problem is that after Elites came out, I think they balanced it, but the ethos was still, this is an unbalanced game because we played it, and that strategist commander, one-shotted my whole team, and it was a nightmare. But now I think that it's balanced, and the unfortunate thing is that you had that GW White Dwarf article that was like, don't play it at the tournament, and then that pretty much put the nail in the coffin, of Commanders.
Let me jump in on that, because obviously that was exactly what I was going to say. You're saying, okay, well, Elite's balanced Commanders, great. Whether I agree or disagree doesn't matter.
Yeah.
But did it? Because if it really did, then surely GW would have said, yeah, you can play with Commanders in competitive, of course. But they haven't. In fact, they specifically published an article saying you should not play with Commanders in competitive. What are your thoughts?
GW says one thing and then does a completely different thing. They also said we shouldn't be playing 125 competitively, and what have we been doing? It's been working out great.
We're just ignoring them. Yeah. I think that's the correct way to do it. However, I don't know if I want to talk about this. I said it in my last Beerany podcast, and Beerany kind of agrees. I'm not 100% that this is the way the game should be played, but I do think 100 is a good format. I'm not against the 100-point level. I prefer 125, but I haven't been able to decide with myself internally, if I'm being honest with myself, do I prefer 125 because I get to put more things on the board? Or do I prefer 125 because it is genuinely a better game, right?
I mean,
can't decide. I can't decide.
that's why I was looking forward to Nova this year, was because they were going to be doing 100, with the classic hold rules, and I think it's good to change things up. You don't want to get stuck in the same thing
Yeah,
every tournament, or every game that you play is exactly the same, which is why I have so many different packets. So many
sure.
people can play different games that they want to play, and it's not going to ever get stale.
Yeah.
You go to my website, killteamstream.com, and you can find every packet that's ever been made competitive for Kill Team, and there's no
Plus
reason
the
you can't go
holy
back and
FAQ.
play. Uh-oh.
Yeah,
Uh,
you're still here.
there's no reason you can't. There's no reason you can't play the original Annihilation pack from 2018. And
Sure. Yeah.
have a
Why not?
great time.
Yeah. Why not? I mean, hey, I played the crap out of that when I went to Warhammer World for their arena game that Elliot went to
Yeah.
as well. So that was
Yeah.
I played that to death. Uh, but yeah, it was really good fun at the time. Yeah.
Servants OP.
Yes, they've been nerfed now. It's fine. I still think they're great, but I haven't played them.
Yeah, I'm playing them at the. I've been playing them in the Fight Club, the Bats Fight Club.
Oh, have you? Oh, okay.
Yeah,
How's
that's
that
my
going?
team. It's going pretty well. So in the Fight Club itself, I've only won and lost one game, but I played a bunch of practice games that I won, which were
Right.
good. So I'm definitely. I mean, I haven't played them before this tournament, so it was
Sure.
literally just a. I'm really sad that nobody plays Servants of the Abyss, so I'm gonna just
Right.
play them, sort of thing.
Yeah. Like I considered doing that, but with Elucidian Star Striders, because I was
Oh
like,
yeah.
nobody knows what they do. I might as well run them.
Actually, I'm currently the #1 ranked Elucidian Star Striders player on ITC.
The only person that owns the team. Yeah, sure. Yeah.
I think they're great.
Somebody did win a pod with them, didn't they? Was it?
Yeah, Nova.
Yeah, Nova.
I don't know his real name, but in your Discord, he is Expatriate.
Oh, okay. Pass.
Yeah.
I don't know. But yeah, I remember that was a big shake-up when that happened.
Yep.
I've got to say,
I was there for that game.
Oh, okay.
I was live, standing right next to it, and George's Demons, George from Warp Charge Gaming, he was playing the Star Striders, and it was like the top match of the pod, and I watched it, and he did all these things that just blew my mind, because up until that point, I had been trying to make Star Striders work very unsuccessfully, might I add.
Right.
In my local meta, we had a campaign, and I had played, I think it was 12 games with Star Striders throughout the campaign, and not won a single one.
Oh, okay.
I tried
That's rough.
all sorts of different cool tactics. I literally did things that the person walked away from it I can't believe you could do that.
Right.
I think of Kill Team differently now, and I still didn't win the game. It was just it was and I was unable to make them work, and I was convinced that they were a losing proposition. And then I saw that game and saw how he played them, and I went, oh my god, it opened my eyes.
Yeah.
And I went back home, and I won every game that I was playing with Star Striders, and I was it changed the way I played them.
Oh,
and I was oh my god, this is so much better.
It's that's how you play the game. Interesting.
Exactly.
Oh, sorry, we got totally sidetracked off Commanders.
Yes.
Right, Commanders. Obviously, they over in Kiev have just ignored everything else and just said, "Yeah, of course we're playing with Commanders. Why wouldn't we?"
Yeah. Unfortunately, I don't know that we can make as bold of a decision in the west coast of America, because I tried to run a Commanders tournament and only 4 people showed up.
Yes. And I was. Well, this shows you how fickle I am. But at the time, I was like, well, yeah, why would you run a Commanders tournament? Duh. But obviously now, I'm like, man, I'm genuinely sat here a Commander tournament would be great. Everybody would come to it. So, it's yeah, okay.
Maybe now that
maybe
the thinking has changed, and people like you and Beernid and talking about it. I mean, I'm running a Commander's pod at LVO, So
Okay,
hopefully some people sign up for
that'll be
that,
interesting.
and but by nature of signing up for it, they'll have to play some practice games, and more people will get out there playing Commanders, hopefully.
Yeah,
Because I think that's really the key, That's why I think it didn't do well, was just GW didn't have events. Like,
yeah, sure.
like Arena came out, they had an event at Warhammer World. The
Yeah, exactly.
Kill Team came out, they had events at Nova and Adepticon and Warhammer World, and
Commanders
then
is
every
just nothing.
Commanders came out, and they were just like, no, we're not touching that.
They didn't even talk about it, and I think it was Commanders. We didn't get an FAQ for Commanders until the last one, which was included Commanders Arena and Elites, right? I believe the original FAQ didn't include Commanders. I'm pretty sure.
I can double check, but I think
so it's like,
yeah, we
how
did get
long
we
is
did
that?
get one, but it was just it was just in
core.
August. Yeah.
And that's crazy to me. How long is that? Not that they changed anything in the FAQ,
I mean,
obviously, but at least
whole,
they acknowledged it existed.
think about that FAQ. The thing that's crazy to me is the Arena one.
What did they
the fact that there's one entry.
Yeah.
They changed it so that battle suits could open and close doors. That's all they changed.
There you go. Love it.
One thing that we weren't even asking for.
Yeah. Anyway, so I am now. Oh, that's what I was going to say. Right. So I recently posted another poll on my channel. Let's see what it's currently at. Now, this wasn't exactly, do you want to play in a Commanders tournament? This was a slightly more generic.
What bat rep do you want to see? I think it was, right?
Yeah, exactly. Which I think is still a pretty good way to determine interest. If nobody wants to watch a Commander's bat rep, then they probably don't want to play in one. I think that's safe to say. And
fair.
So 650 votes. 53% say they wanted to see 125 competitive. 27% said they want to see Commanders competitive, and 21% said narrative, whatever. Just weave me a story, bro. So, but I mean, that's a wild swing towards people just wanting 125 competitive. Now, I have no doubt that if we changed and everyone was suddenly playing Commanders, that poll would also change. But then chicken and egg.
I do wonder, you've kind of like set yourself up as like a competitive channel. I do wonder how much of that is influenced by that.
Okay, but at the same time, I'm also a very beginner-friendly channel.
True.
Now, I recently did a poll on my channel saying, are you more, this was actually a while ago now, are you more a casual player or a competitive player? No, I said narrative or competitive, which isn't really what I meant to ask. And it was almost 50-50. So,
although,
I don't know what that
to
means.
be fair, look at like the guys from like the Knights cast. They're all generally narrative players, but they still play at the tournaments and they still follow what's going on in the competitive world. So there is something to be said for, the narrative people still care about the competitive.
Oh, and yeah, sure.
Vice versa, the competitive people probably still play some, fun casual games with friends that are like, oh yeah, my custodians are here to purge the heretics or whatever,
I don't understand story narrative either. Yeah. No, yeah, I agree. It's not black and white. It's not either or. But here's a leak for you. I'm going to do a Commander's bat rep anyway, because I think it'd be fun. And I would be interested to see how that performs, and if it does actually end up performing well, despite the poll not saying people will want it, then I might take that as an indication that, oh, okay, actually people do want to see Commanders. They just don't know they want to see Commanders. And I might start looking into Commanders competitively more.
It's like Steve Jobs, the people don't know what they want till you give it to them.
Yeah, that's what I always say about. No, it's not. Yeah, no, but you see, so I currently am in the mindset of I want to play Commanders. But if I
Yes.
was watching
Same
a
here.
channel and I didn't want to watch Commanders, I just wouldn't watch those videos, right? Nothing they would say would make me want to watch a Commanders game. And I've done that in the past. For example, I listened to a podcast that's the Kill Team Battle Report podcast called Chill Team.
Yeah.
And they play a lot of Commanders, actually. Like, I should probably talk to them about Commanders. And I would, definitely, if it wasn't for this whole lockdown thing.
That's fair.
But whenever they start talking about their Commanders, I don't really know what they're talking about. I don't know. I'm like, I don't like. Oh, okay, you're using Mirror Mind on the Harlequin Shadow Weaver. Okay, fine. That's not a real ability. I can't use that in my game. I don't care. Like, what an unbalanced game this is. I want to know how this would have actually worked out. So, who knows?
Yeah.
Who knows? I
Well,
totally
every
get,
single
yeah.
team I've made the commanders for them. If that's any
Oh, okay.
indication of my want to play commanders,
Yeah, sure.
you know.
I'll take it. I'll take it. I have built my commander.
Oh,
Fully magnetized, baby. Fully magnetized
nice.
as well. Which is... That
Start
was a lot of
busting
effort,
out.
let me tell you. Jeez. I've never fully...
Want to look at? Here's all my teams over here.
Yeah. Nice. You can... Look at this, look at this. Look at this bad boy right here. Pop.
Nice.
All the guns.
Ooh, look at that.
All the guns. And then I don't know, I think I just sprinkle them on and they kind of go back in place. I don't know.
If that had worked, though, that would have been pretty impressive.
That would have been impressive. It happened off camera. We can fix it in post. But yeah. That took so long to do. I don't like magnetizing.
Oh, yeah.
But there we go.
Yeah,
better than
I
painting.
tend to... what I tend to do is I'll build every option for like the main things, and like I'll magnetize if it's like a combi weapon. And it's like, well, maybe I'll want to take the plasma or melt or whatever, right?
That's a good idea, right?
That makes sense. But I'm not gonna magnetize. Oh, his hand's a lightning claw. Oh, now it's a chain fist. Oh, now it's a chain axe. That makes so much work. And then you have to paint all of them.
I felt with the crisis suit, I had to.
Yes.
Because there are so many options. Right?
I just built mine with 3 flamers, bro. That's all you need.
That's the way to do it. That's the way to do it. That's the way to do it. I know. That was my default option. But I thought, you know what? There might be something in there with doing like the drone controller, something there.
Yeah.
I know that people have tried that before and it hasn't really worked, but
I have it built so that it could technically be two different ones. So it's got 3 flamers, but one of them's kind of like pointed up, like maybe it's not actually on or whatever. And then it's got the advanced targeting system, so I could be like, maybe I want to do 2 flamers and an advanced targeting system.
Yeah, sure. Sure. Also, the flamers and the plasma guns look really similar. So as far as I'm concerned, you can use whichever one you want with them.
Right.
Anyway, commanders, there you go. I think we've said what we want to say about that. We're both in favour of people playing them.
I love commanders.
Yeah, but nobody turns up to your tournaments when you run them. So...
Yeah, I tried.
Yeah.
Also, the other thing that people say they want that I couldn't get off the ground, even worse than commanders, was I tried to do the team tournament. So I tried to do from the Battle Brothers from Arena.
Right.
And it was so bad that the store didn't even advertise for it. They were like, we're good. Nobody wants to play kill team.
Well, Games Workshop had the same problem. When they ran it, so on the Saturday they were running the Battle Brothers team tournament for Kill Team. On Sunday they were running the Arena tournament singles. Naturally, I went to the singles because I am forever alone. But Games Workshop actually cancelled the Battle Brothers. So Games Workshop themselves at Warhammer World couldn't get enough people to run a battle pod. To be clear, I think they got 12 people, so 3 teams. Is that right?
Oh yeah.
No, 6 teams. But they said that that's not enough. We're not gonna run that. So it's not like they had literally nobody, but that would be 6 tables. It's like, what's the point?
Yeah.
So there's obviously a disconnect there, which is super interesting. I don't know why, because obviously you can get team tournaments in 40k, which you'd think
I was pretty hyped
hard
for the Nova one. They were going to be doing a team tournament at Nova. Obviously, it got
this
canceled.
year, you mean?
But
Okay.
yeah, Bearded was already in a team with I think it was like Matt and Alex from Strategic Advantage. And
Yeah.
I think it was Janice. I might be wrong.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Oh, I wouldn't even want to go against them. Damn. Unless I go against Bearded. He hasn't beaten me yet. That's all I'm saying. Pure fluke.
I think he beat me once.
Okay.
Maybe not.
Well, we can't all have my skills. That's fair. No, I was playing Necrons against him. That's why. Okay, right. So that's Commanders. We want to play it. The rest of the community isn't quite there yet, and we're not sure why, but we probably blame GW. Yeah? Cool. Okay, good summary.
I'm pretty sure why, and it's GW.
Yeah, there you go. Good. All right, so our penultimate question, and again, we've completely moved away from everything else now. We're just having a chat. What do you think in LVO 2021 is going to be the strongest faction?
Ooh.
Yeah.
I mean, my assumption, just based off of knowing what's going on, is I think Michael T. Holy's going to show up with Astartes and beat everybody. But I think ideally Kroot. Just kidding.
yeah. Well, that's the dream. That's the dream.
But... Yes, but no, I think probably Astartes, especially with the 3 CP.
Okay.
And everybody's been kind of like, I've noticed we've got in the Bay Area tournament simulation, the BATS tournament that's been going on, we had like an overwhelming number of people bringing Astartes. And not only that, but there's 2 Astartes players that are in the top 8. And they're both running some pretty brutal lists. And one of the things about Astartes, like the reason why they weren't doing so well, and now I think they're doing so well, and I don't think has to do necessarily with the format so much as Astartes have this sort of weird quality that no other kill team has, that like there are so many options. Like there's more so than like it's like the same sort of thing. I forget what they call it's like decision fatigue or something like that, where you walk into a supermarket.
Paralysis.
Analysis paralysis. You walk into a supermarket and there's more than like 3 types of chips. You just can't decide any of them. So you're just like, it's like if there's more decisions than you can comprehend, then it's impossible to like actually make the decision. And I think that happened for a long time with Astartes, where you just looked at them and went, I don't know, I'll take some scouts, or I'll just do the Reavers, or, and over time, the people like Biranid and Shane from Command Point and all that stuff, they've been like, I think, min-maxing and really diving into like the veterans character sheet, what was it called? The data sheet, yes. The data sheet, and really pulling out those weird options that actually are really powerful, and like like twin plasma pistols, or a plasma pistol and a storm shield, or like the power fist and the storm shield, and mixing that with like a jump pack and like all these different like the relic blade and all these various things, but into a list that is actually like properly competitive. Whereas before it was like, I'll take this because I like it, or I have the model, or one of the benefits of like TTS is it lets you play whatever you want, whereas with regular kill team you had to kind of play with what you had. And I think that what the result of that is going to be for something like LVO in 2021, that these people have now play tested these wacky lists and actually found out that they work, and now they can build the models and bring them to a real tournament based off of that playtesting that they did in the virtual environment, And I think that's one of the few things about Astartes that doesn't really happen with any of the other teams, because look at Eldar, right? It's like, what are you gonna kit out your flamer gunner with? A flamer? Yeah.
Yeah.
Or are you gonna or a fusion? No, the two options are so
Yeah.
staggering, So I think that's gonna result in plus with all the new stuff that they're getting, like the chainsword intercessors in the Indomitus box and stuff.
That will be
They're,
very interesting. Yeah.
yeah, I think that, and then also conversely, I think that's also going to help the Necrons because they're also getting a lot of new stuff. I'm sure I'm sure some of that's at least coming to Kill Team.
I'd be shocked
So I
if they're
think,
not, yeah.
yeah, so I think those two teams are definitely going to do really well, if for no other reason than they're popular. There's going to be a lot of people running them that just bought the Indomitus box.
Yeah. No, it's a good
Michael
point.
T. Holy is known to have played Astartes, so if he brings them, they'll probably win.
That's
and
true.
then
That's true. Yeah.
It's a safe bet to make.
I think it will be very telling. I'm actually really excited for it. To see the point costings of the new Indomitus guys in Kill Team.
Oh yeah.
Like,
yeah.
Will they just copy paste from 40k, or are they going to modify them to fit in with Kill Team? And then, are they going to go in undercosted for Kill Team, almost making them must takes? Like if they come into Kill Team undercosted, then it's like crap. Okay, suddenly both Necrons and Marines are going to be. I mean, Necrons are already top tier, but are going to be. Ooh, that's what you have to run. So that'll be very.
Well, it's like a weird thing, right? Because 9th edition also brought with it a bunch of points changes for everybody, and everybody went up like what? It was like 20%.
And Kill Team hasn't had that, and Kill Team does have its own point costs anyway.
So it'd be almost. It feels like I can't speak for Astartes, but at least for the Necron side of things, it would feel weird if they made the new warrior option anything other than the exact same price as the regular warrior.
Oh, sure. But I assume that they're going to be getting another data sheet as opposed to just another gun option.
I don't know. I think that it's very possible that what they might do, if I was GW looking at the units that have been introduced, is they might bring in the Royal Warden and the Plasmancer as commanders.
Okay, sure. Well, commanders, unbalanced. Everyone can be a commander. Yeah. Who cares? Just throw them in. Yeah.
But I'm saying, like, that's the only thing I could see actually making its way into Kill Team out of the units. Because people have been saying, like, the Scorpec destroyers. But just looking at those things, if they were in Kill Team, they'd have to... they would just ruin everybody's day.
But there is the robot chicken, right? Or the bucket chicken? The bucket robot?
Yeah. Those guys... But those guys are probably going to come in, but as, like, in addition to the Plasmancer as a commander, similar to how the Chaos Ogren is with the Traitor Commissar, or the X-101 is with the, what's his face, the guy that came in the Blackstone Fortress,
Manipulus.
Escalation.
Oh, sorry, Daedalus.
Yes. Daedalosus.
X-101 can just come in on his own. He's not.
Well, that's what I'm saying. It's like he can come in on his own, but his rules really need him to be there with Daedalosus. He does need a
commander. Yeah. And even then, he's not very good. Yeah.
Yeah.
I
think that's going to be similar to those bucket guys. Like, you'll be able to use them, but you won't.
Okay. Well, I'm not against that, right? Like, if they just want to give us more data sheets that aren't really good.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm kind of okay with that because it gives people more options to play the way they want. And let's not forget that most people don't... I mean, they're not playing the most optimized competitive list. So who cares if they want to run, death marks, right? Death
Yeah.
Marks are cool models. They've got cool lore. You're not going to win, but cool. Good for you.
I've been trying to make death marks work.
They don't work.
I think
No, they don't.
they're
I've
a
tried.
decent choice. They're a decent choice, I think, against Custodes.
Oh,
But
okay.
you have to take like a sniper and the comms one, and then they have to both come in together.
I suppose. I remember I did try to make them work, and I had 2 games where they were amazing, and I had my Grey Knight opponent rage quit the game. That was how good they were, and I was like, okay, now we're talking. This is how it works. But then it never happened again. Turns out if you roll 6s, they're really good. Who knew?
Yeah. Right. I think they're decent in an open board scenario. They're absolutely useless in arena, but in an open board scenario, I think they've got a little bit of play if you use them right. But yeah.
Okay. So
they're very RNG.
Yes, they So your official guess is Adeptus Astartes as the strongest faction in LVO?
I think so.
Okay.
I would put money on that.
So the follow-up question, the final question.
Okay.
Is how do you fix that? Right. So I had assumed you were going to say something a little bit more predictable, maybe? I don't know, like saying, oh, Eldar or Necrons or something. And it's like, okay, well, how do you fix that faction to not be overpowered? So, I mean, I think that Necrons or Drukhari are probably top of the game at the moment. And
I definitely think Necrons are a contender for that slot for sure, especially at LVO,
yeah. And then I think there are some ways you could really talk about, okay, well, we know that they're the best because of X, so therefore we should fix them by doing Y.
Yeah.
Do you have any sort of idea for that with Adeptus Astartes?
With Astartes, I mean, just
Why
death denied 4 CP.
Just kidding. Well, yeah, indeed, yeah. We can't do that because then my shirt has to change. It's DD3 CP. I can't reprint this. But do you have any idea? So why will they be the strongest? And then how do you stop?
Well,
if you see,
I think
is it so balanced that they don't need to be stopped, but you just think they're the best?
Yeah, I mean, I think in a one-on-one game, I would be able to beat Astartes.
Okay.
In almost every mission. The thing is that I think that there's going to be a lot of players there, and it's going to be a sheer numbers game.
Sure.
More people playing Astartes, and combine that with people finally seeing viable Astartes lists through these things like Biernid's, tactics series he's done recently, and like your
and my
series.
Primaris only.
Yeah, and I think the that kind of thing is going to lend itself to more people there, and once more people are playing a faction, it's the weight of numbers, I think. But really, I think the way to make Astartes not win the tournament is to somehow stop Michael T. Holy from bringing them.
Is Michael T. Holy actually going to go? I thought he's officially stepped.
So I don't know because I haven't heard from him for months. But I do remember when he said he was going to be, retiring from Kill Team. He picked the perfect year, by the way, for that. But
he nailed it.
When he said he was going to be retiring from Kill Team, he did say that the one thing he could probably still do every year is LVO. So that's all I know. But yeah.
That'd be really cool if he does.
Yeah.
Just swan in and just I'm playing. Well, he's going to be playing Eldar, isn't he? And then it's going to be
maybe not.
Well, he
played
with the Eldar.
He played White Scars at SoCal and got second place with them, and now with 3 CP and all that stuff, he might actually consider it.
Oh, I can picture exactly what he would say. Yeah, I can't do his accent at all. I'm terrible with the American accent. But he'd be like, "Oh, well, you changed it to 3 CP. Of course I'm going to take Death Denied." Something like that. So yeah, that was a terrible Michael T.
Yeah.
That was just a
It
generic
was, but
American. But
I got what you're saying,
yeah,
trying to do there.
you got to go with it. But yeah, I can definitely see the obvious reasons why Astartes will now be stronger, but I don't think they're going to be. I don't think they're going to be the top. I think the dubious honor has to go with Necrons. Necrons. I think they're very, very strong.
I definitely think that they're also getting all those same benefits the Astartes are getting in terms of like popularity, and everybody's getting a box of Indominus. You know, like they're going to be in full force for sure. I think at the event, and right now they are the other team dominating at the Bats tournament.
Yeah.
So
there were 2 Astartes in the top 8, is it? And also 2.
2 Astartes, 2 Necrons. Yeah. I think 1 Drakari, 1,000 Suns.
Yes.
1 Heretic Astartes.
But the big difference there is that the Marines, obviously no negatives to the players there, practically brute forced their way into the top 8, right? There were so many that, like, one of them had to get through, essentially. Whereas the Necrons...
I mean, yeah, you could definitely argue that.
Many.
But I do think that Shane's list is pretty brutal.
Oh, no, yeah, I'm not taking anything away from the players, obviously. I'm just saying there were so many that it was almost a numbers game. Whereas the Necrons, there was still a lot of Necrons. It's not like there was only one and one made it through. But there were...
I think also the Necrons were fueled because of the previous event, the Invitational. Because Matt won with his Necrons. So I think people were kind of like, ooh, Necrons.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
People always like to take... That's the same reason why the LVO this year had so many Eldar, I think, was because people just, had been seeing Michael T. Holy wrecking face with them. And
you say that, but you go and talk to any of those top players on the top 8 tables that were playing Eldar, and they all give the same response. It's like... It's like something just takes over their face, like how a politician has pre-rehearsed a speech. Actually, I've been playing Necrons for years, man. I just like the aesthetic. It's like, are you sure? Like, yeah, man. I just okay, all right, sure, yeah.
I think I could argue that about Necrons though, since I've been playing them since the first LVO. I have 12,000 points.
I remember. Yeah, that's fair. Anyway,
I still remember that moment when you first interviewed Michael T. Holy.
Oh, okay.
And you were talking to him about his second game, and he was like, "Yeah, and I went up against this guy named Sheldon who had all flayed ones," and you were kind of like, "All flayed ones?" Like you never thought of that before.
No, I was like, what? All flayed ones. I prefer death marks. I think they're really good. That was probably something I would have said back when I first played the game. Yeah. We've all had bad takes, that's for sure. But yeah, okay. Awesome. Well, this brings us to the end of our phenomenal discussion. Is there anything you would like to say?
Go to killteamstream.com. Follow me on Twitch, killteamstream. Basically on all social media things, except Instagram, which is funny because I'm a photographer. But
yeah, that seems odd. But sure, okay, yeah.
My main Instagram is my photography thing, so I don't want to set up a whole nother Instagram. Is basically the thing.
That's hassle.
But sure. So killteamstream.com. I have every rules packet you could ever want to for any tournament, and then. I also have a cool FAQ on there that you can check out. And it's got links to pretty much everything from there. So anything you want to check out that I do, you can check out there. And look forward to more cool packets from me. I'm working on a big narrative campaign that I'm going to be putting out soon. That's going to be really cool. Anyone can play at their local game store once that's a thing again.
Yeah. And is there a Commanders packet up there for us Commanders lovers?
Yeah, there's the Arena Commander packet, which is kind of using the old arena rules, but adding some of the Kiev format stuff to it. There's going to be a new packet to go along with the Commander pods for LVO 2021, which I'm working on. Right now, I'm working on all the packets. There's like 4 different packets I need for LVO because I finished the championship packet, which is like the main event, the grand tournament, and just so people know what the difference is between those two. Championships is the big end of the year 2-day super event, and then the grand tournament is like the last Sunday where it's all the people who didn't make the top 8 can play, and sort of like they did this year where, there's another event the last day that's technically the first event of the next year.
Yeah. If you're worried about ITC rankings, yeah. Which
weren't really a thing this year.
No, they have not been. No. Yeah.
But and then there's like I've got to make a packet for the After Dark event, which is going to be similar to pretty much almost exactly the Slaughterfest packet, except a few different changes for the event. And then there's going to be the Commander's packet for the Commander pods, and then I have to do a packet for I'm doing a Combat Patrol event, and all that stuff. So yeah.
Awesome.
So that's all going to be up on the site once it's all done as a group, because I want to put it all out at once, so it's not like, oh, here's half the things.
Yeah, sure. Sure. Okay. Cool. Well, it sounds awesome. So yeah, basically go to killteamstream.com, which has then links to everything else.
Exactly.
Yeah. Awesome. Okay.
And sign up for the Glass Half Dead Discord.
Yes, because actually, so obviously I just put out that battle report, and several people did ask, where can I get this mission? And I've had to link them to the Google Doc that you gave out. But I did say, if you're in the Discord, you would have had this like 2 weeks ago. So yeah.
Yeah, Glass Half Dead Discord is on the cutting edge of competitive kill team. If you want to know what's going on, you got to be there.
Exactly.
Everyone's there. Why aren't you? That's all I can say.
The other place to be, if you're a person that it lives, is my Patreon.
Yeah.
Go now to... No, I'm not going to plug that. Right. Okay.
You'll get a triple hello.
Exactly.
The end of all of it.
I just have to remember to say it every time, which I never do. But yeah, awesome. Well, thank you very much for coming along, Sheldon, or Kill Team Stream.
Yeah, thank you.
I haven't done my interview series much since for almost 6 months, a year, practically.
It's my favorite content.
That's what everybody says.
Out of all the YouTubes.
Yeah. And it's... Where else are you going to go for Kill Team podcasting, That's just 2 people sitting down having a chat for 2.5 hours. It's not 2.5, don't worry. It's not 2.5. It's 2:10. It's 2:10. So hopefully everybody has enjoyed having this on in the background whilst they are working or doing house chores, or more likely hobbying, and it's been great to have you on. Hopefully we'll talk again soon, possibly after you've got that Commander's pack out. I'm excited to play that in a Commander's bat rep that I want to do. So
nice.
Hook me up with that preview alpha version, man. All right.
Do it.
Okay, thank you very much, Sheldon. Thank you very much, everybody else, for watching. Do you want to say goodbye?
Thank you, guys.
Do you know how to do the Glass Half Dead sign off? Do you know it? Nobody says for the last 5 seconds. It's fine. I understand.
Yeah. I hope you have a good day, and I hope you continue to have a good day. This is Glass Half Dead. Goodbye.
Close enough. I'll take it. All right. See you, everybody. Bye.